Hi, welcome to Springdale Today. My name is Mary Jordan, and we're coming to you on location today in Don Tyson School of Innovation. We're here today with Assistant Principal Aurelian Sennett, teacher Cindy Lyons, and student Emma Bullington. We're going to be talking about how Don Tyson recently earned the Purple Star designation for the school. It's one of only 2 schools in Springdale schools that have that designation, the other being Central Junior High School. And here's just a little information about that. The Arkansas Purple Star School Award recognizes schools and school districts that show a major commitment to serving students and families connected to America's armed forces, according to the Arkansas Department of Education. The U.S. Census Bureau reported in 2022 that 2.4% of Springdale population are veterans. That's about 2,020 people. And about 7% of Arkansas's population are veterans. That's about 178,000 people. There are almost 2 million children of service members nationally. Military education and students that attend military schools are 3 times more likely to change schools as their peers. And more than 80% of students in public schools that are military connected are in public schools. So thank you guys for being here. That was a little hard for me to spit out that last sentence. To say that 80% of military-connected children attend U.S. public schools. That's what I was trying to spit out. So tell me a little bit about the Purple Star designation and what it was about that made Don Tyson feel like it was something you wanted to pursue for your students.
Sure. Well, I'll start. I was at a school board meeting, and I saw Dr. Lofton from Central Junior High School take the necessary steps to get that set up within our district as a whole. There are certain steps that have to be accomplished at the school board level. And so, I was maybe a bit impressionable and thought, oh, that's a cool thing. Maybe we could do that as well. That and several other reasons. Dr. Cleveland has wisely mentioned to support our military families. Personal experience as a child and being in a military family, and just seeing maybe a need in our school where we didn't maybe make space for that before. This designation and the steps that it asks us to take allow us to make space for that moving forward. So that was my initial desire. After that, I brought on Miss Lyons. Maybe Miss Lyons.
Yeah. So he came to me and said, "Hey, would you like to do this?" And I said, "Absolutely. I have a huge military family, and that's something that's very near and dear to me." And one of the things that I thought with military and the movement of military families is having our virtual school would be just a fantastic way to help military families. Maybe if they wanted to move and didn't want to move into a different school when they moved, they could be part of our virtual academy, because we do have lots and lots and lots of students that don't live in Springdale that are part of virtual. So that was kind of my thought. And then also, I didn't know how many of our kids were military families or anything. And so that was kind of my next step to think through that as well. Well, how could we help them? What do they need? What are we not providing? And then going through the program to get us here, I learned so much about what that designation means. And then at the state level, they have meetings, and it's a big deal down there. And so it's really been fun. I have attended virtually most all of the meetings that they have monthly, and just listen to what's going on around the state, and just learning things like, for one thing is, if a student moves into your school and they want to be in choir, and maybe that's not the best choice. Maybe it's a basketball. They want to be in basketball or football or something like that. But the tryouts have already happened. A military student can be part of that team because they were already part of a team wherever they were, and they don't have to worry about that process. And so, and I feel like that's an important thing for a kiddo who probably does have to move around a lot. So that's kind of what brought me in, and then I've gotten more and more excited since then. So
now, really, you were a military family member yourself? You grew up in a military family?
Yes. A lot of my family has been in the military. And when I was a child, my stepfather was in the military. I have very young siblings. In fact, 2 of my siblings are still in high school. And when my little brother, who turned 18 this past weekend, was, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe 2 years old, maybe. I remember the night before my stepfather was deployed, and he was sitting with my little brother. I just remember thinking, I was probably 17 or 18 at the time, and my little brother was so precious to me, and I wanted to spend all the time I could with him. And then right beside my little brother was his dad, who the next day, was going to go be deployed and not see him. And when he came back from deployment, he was going to be, much larger and grown and maybe walking and talking. So that moment left an impression on me. I don't think, that's not something people would often forget. And so, just experiences like that have stuck in my brain. I have lots of grandparents that were in the military. I often find myself saying to specifically our parents, but community members all over, thank you for your service when they're in the military. And that's a great thing to say, and I'm glad that we do that, and I'm glad that we say that. And I wanted to sort of say, and this is how we're going to thank you. We're going to have a school that recognizes not only the things that you've done for our country, but also the challenges that you have agreed to face because of that. And just so you know, if you have to be deployed, we're going to be here for your kid while you're away.
That means a lot to me as a veteran. So thank you for doing that. We're very, very grateful. Do you guys have any idea about how large your military family population might be at this school?
Well, we know we have at least 10 to 15, but we're working on really pinpointing that down. And we're working with we have CCR classes that all of our students are part of. And so through that, we're going through that process of trying to find, many times those students are not real open. We also have a newsletter that goes out to parents, and we put something in the newsletter this last time to try to get people, and we already have several people who have gone on there and told us, about that. So, and those were 2 students that I didn't know about. There is a process when you do apply or not apply, but you fill out your app, whatever that is, to become a registration. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word registration. There is a spot to fill that out. And so we do have some families from that as well that show us that, but not all are in there. So like Emma wasn't in there. We didn't have her in there. So that was one that just came to our attention otherwise. And so there are some things in place district-wise, but then we're trying to be more mindful here to reach out and say, hey, tell us, we want to know. We want to help you. We want to be part of that. So.
Well, thank you for doing that. And Emma, so tell us a little bit about yourself. What grade are you in? And tell us a little bit about your family and what the military looks like for you.
I'm currently in 7th grade.
Your dad is a service member?
Yes, my dad is a service member. I've had service. My family has been in the military since the Revolutionary War, so far back.
Whoa, man, that's incredible. So, like, historically, your family's been serving that many years. What do you think about that?
I think that's actually pretty neat. I mean, kind of like thinking back about that and how like that was like such a big war is pretty cool.
It really is. Thank you to you and your family. And you even said earlier that you might be considering that for a future for yourself to kind of continue that tradition a little bit. Yes, that's cool. We'll pick away at that just a little bit more later. Okay, so what kind of needs are you guys seeing within your school community for your military families?
Well, once again, we're just now in the process of this, so we're not seeing a lot. I know I've met with Emma's dad and just some of the things that Emma needs. We're working on that, and but it seems to be very specific per family, which is going to be cool because we're going to have, it won't be a blanket need. I think it's going to be more specific for each family. And I'm really excited about that. But again, we're just kind of at the beginning of the process. So I hope to have more information about that as time goes. But
yeah, I think the nice thing about this designation is that it helps you to discover what you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. And if you don't ask the question, you won't find out what those needs are. So obtaining this designation last year and maintaining the necessary components of that this school year and forward allow us to keep an eye on that and identify those things. And like Miss Lyons said, the specific things per family.
Yeah. Now, Emma, do you know what your dad did when he was a service member?
My dad was a Navy intelligence officer.
That's really cool. And so did you move around a lot in reference to like what he did or what he did following the military?
I moved around a lot, but not for military reasons. But like I understand how much of a struggle it is to move around a whole lot.
So what was it that caused you to move around a whole lot for you?
Probably my family's divorce and just a whole lot of moving around.
So you had to change schools and stuff like
Many
that?
different schools, which is kind of frustrating because you always have to make new friends and start new classes, meet new teachers.
And I know, too, it's not like a month of the military child where you have a celebration and it's just a month-long thing. It sounds to me like it's something that they're having monthly conversations about it. So the needs are evolving and one may be met, but then there's a transition, right? All right, very good. All right, thank you for sharing that with us. So what's it like moving into a new school or a new community?
Well, at first, it's pretty nerve-wracking. It's like you don't understand what they do different here and what you'll have to relearn or like how you have to start over.
And so how can you guys, being aware of that as a Purple Star School, how can you guys kind of help alleviate some of that for students?
Well, one thing we want to do, and Emma and I have actually talked about this, and Emma's going to help me, is we want to come up with an organization, maybe loosely, of those kids so that they have a place to talk. They might see Emma in the call and say, hey, I'm having this issue. Can we just go talk? And so maybe bringing them together as students here just to have those conversations. And also me listening might help also with our next steps.
Well said.
Thank you.
I'd like to add, so I've thought a lot about current events, and as we watch the news and things happen in our world, it will allow us to be actionable, right? So if I know that maybe the military is being deployed, or our National Guard from Arkansas is, being deployed, maybe there's a national emergency, and those individuals are going to be assigned to assist somewhere. If I know their children and I know who their teachers are, I can tell their teachers, just so you know, mom or dad might have been deployed recently. So, that may have some effect on the child in the classroom. So simply knowing who they are and where they are allows us to take action where we otherwise may not have been able to. If we hadn't stopped and said, well, who in our school is part of the military, and maybe we can learn more about that. What branch are they in? What do they do for the military? Like I said, it empowers us to be actionable if needed. Something else that I like that's happened as a nice consequence of this designation, and Miss Lyons was mentioning it earlier, I think, before we started. When you're a kid, at least for me and maybe others, I don't know how to talk about military experiences with my family. And in fact, I remember being really young, and I knew that my great-grandfather was in the military, and I had questions about that. And I asked his daughter, my grandmother, those questions, and she sort of said, this question you can ask, maybe don't ask that question. And she helped me to kind of shape what conversations can look like. So I like the idea. I like that we're making space for those conversations with kids. We're connecting them with other kids, and we're making space for their specific needs.
It sounds like that would be really important. I mean, if Fayetteville or Springdale, Rogers, any of these large towns in Northwest Arkansas were really close to a military installation, the deployment would be news for the whole community, right? But there's no way to know about this segment of students unless you're asking those questions, right? So, Emma, have you had an opportunity to connect them with any other students that have a military connection?
I have not.
Not yet.
Well, that's not true. You did connect me with 2 other people.
That is true. I misunderstood the question.
That's okay.
Have Braden Lane and my brother Vaughn Fields.
Okay. And so what's that kind of like having that little military connectedness within the school community, that commonality with other students?
It's kind of nice. It's like they understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good.
And she was very proud to tell me, which I thought was very cool. Both her brother and her friends.
Right. Very cool. Well, I'm glad that you're bringing that together, and I hope you guys find a real sense of community. Now, what did you guys have to do as a part of qualifying for this award?
Oh, gosh, I should have brought our list. There were several things that we had to do specifically about our school, why we wanted to, and specifically things that our school setup would help with. I'd have to go back and look at all of the different things.
Yeah, off the top of my head. Well, the district has to have a designated person as a military liaison. The school board commits to it. That happened last year. And like I said, Dr. Lofton in Central Junior High School led the way for that. So thanks to them. And from there, the school takes on certain commitments. We will identify the students that we serve. We'll provide information to their families. If you go on our website now, there's a page dedicated to the families of our military service men and women. We ensure that students and families have necessary resources to access the school and the various programs and things that we offer. That's just to name a few. We designate someone within our school to be our military liaison. That's neat. Baked in this.
Yes. One other thing that they are very big on is the next month, November 11th, we'll be having our celebration here for Veterans Day. And so that's one big thing. Do you all do that? And I had to provide our last few years of information, and they went through pictures and things like that of things we had done to show that we really were serious about it, So it's really cool. And the gentleman, his name is, I can't remember how to say his last name, John. He's down in the State Department, and he works, but he's a military man, and he works very, very closely with us. And he, anytime that we have the meetings online, he's there and talking. And one thing that is very cool that I wanted to mention, and I'm hoping that we can start to do those, reach out, is there are a lot more schools coming on board with this. And several Northwest Arkansas schools have come on board. And so one of the things that we're going to do is start kind of putting that together, because I think it's mainly been, as you said, closer to those military bases. Well, now we're seeing, in Springdale and in Bentonville and in Rogers, we've still got lots and lots of people that are deploying or moving or going, 2 weeks in the summer and every other weekend, and their kids are still needing these supports. And so I'm hoping that he's hoping, and we're hoping to also be involved in that, to kind of make a better group of all of us to talk through that.
Yeah. Well, and again, that takes intentional effort. So thank you for doing that for our families. It makes a big difference. Right. So, Emma, what are some things that you would communicate, like, to Miss Lyons, to Mr. Sennett, as far as, like, things that you'd want them to know about military kids? Anything?
Probably. I don't really have anything on the top of my head. Like, what do you...
Did you have anything for you personally that stands out to you, like being a kid at a new school, or a situation that you were in that you're like, it would have been a little bit easier if my school understood that I was moving? Like, for instance, classes, right? The circumstances for what you have to learn here in Northwest Arkansas might be very different from the classes you had at another school, or even those expectations, right? Was there anything that maybe you'd kind of communicate to your school in regards to the transition, or how they might help you?
Not really. I mean, probably just like maybe like getting like maybe breaks or something like that, just to like get your head together when you start back to a new school.
Fair enough. And then when parents deploy too, there's that aspect of just being aware of what's happening within the household of mom and dad coming and going, that kind of stuff. Okay, awesome. All right, so how do you guys really generally hope your families are served through this process?
Well, certainly if there's any information they need about connecting with the school, we want them to not only have that information, but be able to gather that information quickly. And like I said, we reach out to the families every year, and we have information listed on our website. So that's one thing I would say. I also would like to add that I think I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I want the families of our school, the families of our children here at school to feel like we see them and that we acknowledge what they've done for our community. I think just being aware of their service and us communicating to them that it's important to us and it means a lot, I think that goes a long way. And I think that can really help to build bridges between community and school.
So is there anything coming up? So what does Veterans Day look like for you guys? Or anything else that you'd want to communicate to families?
We're going to actually have our assembly on the 11th. Miss Kennard is actually over the entire process of that whole thing. But we invite military people in. And when we, have food and all kinds of things like that. But we also, if you'll notice, we have a bajillion TVs. I know that is a number. And on our TVs, we play throughout the time, coming really, really soon. We'll start playing on the videos pictures of, like, for example, my grandfather will be there. And it'll say Miss Lyons' grandfather and who it is and where he was in the service. And then, and I'm sure you have your family on there as well. And it plays on these TVs. And as you walk the halls, it's a really cool thing to see how many people we're connected with that are in the military. But we also have some military people that teach here. And so that is super, super awesome to see them connect with kids and talk to the kids about their military service. And then the kids see them in a different way. The students are more apt to ask them questions about things maybe they might be thinking about, so that's really cool. And we'll make sure that, like, her family's invited. And my father-in-law, when he was alive, he came to the assemblies. And so it's really a neat experience.
Yes, awesome. So what's the specific day, time, and location? It is. So for families that do want to come.
It's November 11th. I don't know exactly the time. It'll be in the morning. Well, we actually will have two, won't we? Last year, I know we did a morning one and an afternoon one so we could split the students up because we didn't have enough room for all of us in the PAC. So, but it will be on November 11th, and it'll be on our website as well.
And our social media.
And our social media, all of our social media will have it as well. It's neat. It's been great ever since a couple of years ago, one of my students was actually joining the military. And so in that process, they came and actually did his initiation here on campus. Of course, I'm just tearing up and crying the whole time, but it was a very neat experience.
Yeah, and that's a big deal, because if we're thinking about our students enlisting after high school, which is something that if they want to do, we want to encourage them to do that, obviously. We want them to see that it's something that is respected, and it's something that we value and honor their dedication to our country. And so for our students to sit in the hall in our PAC, our Performing Arts Center, and see their classmates with veterans in our really great assembly, and Miss Kenner does a great job.
She does a great job.
But for them to see their classmates in that way, I think it's really powerful, and it becomes maybe a lot more, close to home for them. Maybe it inspires them. I think it inspires them to think about their own future. Perhaps that future is military. I think it's a really powerful experience, and one that I wouldn't want to lose.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you mentioned that you might have sites for a future that may include the military, right? What can you tell me about that, Emma?
I am big on veterinarian stuff, and I've thought about going into the Army and working as a veterinarian for them.
And why the Army as opposed to the Navy if your dad was in the Navy?
I'm not a big fan of being on the water, but I would do it if that was like one of my options, like one of my main options. I would so do that.
Well, I'll say, honestly, sorry to hit the mic. I would say that I am a veteran, and I enlisted because of the education benefits, and I got 2 degrees while I was serving, and I didn't pay a dime for those educations. So there is some benefits to it that students may have accessible to them that they wouldn't have otherwise known. Right, so is there anything I haven't touched on that you guys think is an important part of the conversation? Anything in regards to the school, your families, or even any experiences you'd like to talk about? No?
I can't.
Well, I can. I would like to say thank you to Miss Lyons. She did a lot of heavy lifting for this process. And I would also like to say thank you to Emma and our other students and their parents. We're real proud of Emma, and we're honored that her family chooses to send her to DTSOI. And we have a great relationship with her family. And just that, if anybody sees this and you're interested in more information, please reach out to your school leadership. If you're a student at DTSOI, please come talk to Miss Lyons or myself.
Yes.
And if you're a parent and you want more information, certainly you can find information on our website, but also come reach out to us. We're here to serve you and want to be connected.
And on the website, it does say that I am the liaison, and it does give my information, so that's an easy place to go as well. So,
all right. Well, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for what you're doing with our military families.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm thrilled. It was an opportunity that was presented that I have never regretted taking. So, Emma, I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to see what you do in the future, and I wish you only health and happiness.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us today on Springdale Today, and we will see you next time.
Springdale Today is a production of the Springdale Public Schools Communications Office.
The podcast is hosted by Mary Jordan and is produced and edited by Micah DeLacy.
Be sure to subscribe to Springdale Today for free on your favorite podcast platform.
And don't forget to follow Springdale Today on social media for episode updates
and behind-the-scenes conversations.
Thank you for listening. We hope you join us in the future as we continue to learn about the amazing stories happening in Springdale today.